Media arts. With the introduction of media arts into the national curriculum, so in ACARA, it's becoming pretty evident how important it is to incorporate technology into the classroom. So everyone that lives in society knows how pervasive technology is into our society and into every facet of our life pretty much. So there is such a big role for teachers to play in incorporating technology and the media arts into their lessons. So prior to starting this degree, I wasn't sure what media arts really entailed. Like, I knew that it would probably include movies and photography, but I wasn't really sure what extent media arts covered technologies, if that makes sense. So through doing a bit of investigation, we've learnt that media arts not only covers the photography and films, it also involves gaming and advertising and what the creators do and how they do it in order to manipulate the audience and suit the people that are using these technologies. So in a classroom, you need to really make sure that A, your students are really competent in using these technologies, but B, they understand why these decisions are made. So they're not only making these technologies and these artworks from technologies, but they're responding to them as well. So when we have our media arts lessons, not only are you learning how to make a film or take a photograph, you're learning what makes a good photograph, so the rule of thirds and why different shots mean different things. So there's this whole notion of multimodality and new literacies coming into play throughout the whole curriculum, not just media arts. So we really need to be aware of the technologies out there and really incorporate it into the classroom and give your students the setup they need to be able to be literate in today's society. It's not just reading anymore, it's how to use a smartphone and how to use an iPad and how to access all this different information online. So there's so much more to it than I first realized. So there's 5 key concepts in media arts, and they are languages, representations, audience, technologies and institutions. Within media arts, as well as learning about the art forms themselves, again, it's so easy to make them cross-curricular and join into those other key learning areas. So with our media arts lesson, we integrated them with literacy and the story principles. So in terms of the Great Escape, you have the orientation, setting up where people are and why they don't like it and why they want to escape. Then you have the series of events leading up to the escape or during the escape. Usually there's some kind of complication or setback or something to make it a bit difficult, and then they have a solution, and then either they overcome the obstacle and escape, or they don't overcome and you're feeling a bit sad, or there's the middle ground where you don't know what's happened or how it's ended. So when we're considering media arts, we can learn about all the different shots and angles and all the different little tricks that the composers use to sway our emotions and to add or heighten the attention of the story. So through media arts, we learnt about the use of angles and how if you do it from a low angle, makes them look very powerful, but if you're doing it from a high angle, they look really weak and insignificant. Or if you do close up, it's like you're getting to know someone, or if you do really far away, it's like you're learning what environment they're in. So there's all these different little techniques that they use that we come to learn in media arts. So through media arts, we learned how to storyboard, and we actually created a story. So in the next video, I'll show you what we created using these Great Escape principles. Here is our Great Escape film we created, and it's called The Great Escape from Fisher Library. I hope you enjoy it. So in addition to making our media artwork, there's also responding to media artworks. So in terms of our own video, which you would have just seen, we can talk about the composition, the time, the space and the story within this media artwork, or within our Great Escape from Fisher Library. So in terms of composition, we can talk about the angles and the shots used, so the low angles and the high angles and the long distance shots to show you the setting and the content. Then we have have time, so we didn't really show a setting in time, but judging from the surroundings you could kind of ascertain where the story was taking place. And in terms of time elapsed, it was a chronological story. There was a bit of a gap in the middle due to mainly having only 12 frames we're allowed to use, but you could still see that it was in chronological order, so we didn't really jump around or play with time too much, which is perhaps an option for us to consider next time. The next one we had was space. So we showed the space in which we were working, so we had our library, and we played with space using those angles, so whether you felt confined in the dusty shelf or whether you felt really overwhelmed by being like thrown into all the different shelves and seeing how big the library is and how big that escape task is to manage. And then the last one is the story principles itself. So it had an orientation, did it have a complication, did it have a resolution? So in terms of analysing and responding to our composition, there's plenty of words and meta-language surrounding it. In addition, you can talk about soundtrack and audio effects in the way that sways the audience and the viewer. There's a lot of meta-language surrounding these areas for us to talk about. In addition to analysing your own media artwork, you can also analyse the media artwork surrounding you and the films and the photos and the advertisements in your local area. So since starting this course on media arts, everyone's noticing this rule of thirds, how you've got your 1, 2, 3 sections, and then the most important things are either just to one side or the other. They're not always directly right in the middle, and depending on what side has the space kind of helps sway and tell the story. So it's surprising how prominent those things are, but you don't know them until you taught them. So it really just reaffirms the importance of having media arts in the classroom, and it's everywhere. You need to understand what they're doing and how they're doing it, and really just have a good working understanding on these increasing technologies and the way that they create what they do. So I hope that you've enjoyed this vlog series. I hope that through watching this it's kind of helped you to understand and realise the importance of creative arts within the curriculum and within our students' education. I definitely can see its place and how valuable it is, and we really just need to treat it as such and make sure that it's not put behind, or we're not going to do it just to fill in time, that whenever we engage in some kind of creative arts, it's always for a purpose, and that it's always adding to the education of our students, whether it be through self-expression or through understanding another key learning area. So thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed, and I'll be back again soon.